flaw the sweater though. Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast. My name is Tori, or Victoria, the mastermind behind the crazy, and thank you for joining me today. Today is Saturday, October 16th. It is a lovely fall day, and it is also Rhinebeck weekend, so for those of you who could attend, we're all jealous, but we really hope you enjoy. For those of you who are confused, Rhinebeck is it's probably one of the biggest and most popular sheep and wool festivals, and it is in Rhinebeck, New York. But anyway, moving on. Before we jump into the podcast and I start rambling, you can find me in a few places on the internet. You can find me on Instagram as Tori Schaffner. You can find me on the blog. Show notes will still be at woolymastodon.wordpress.com. You can find me, of course, here on YouTube. I am on Ravelry as lilwestie, L-I-L-Westie. And you can find me on Facebook. I'm just not as active there. And we do have a special guest today. I don't know if you can actually see her, but she's just off to the side. Midnight Moon has decided to join us today. Yes, you have. But with that, you may have noticed the graphics have changed on this podcast. So we're actually going to have a little discussion. I am rebranding the podcast. We are going to move away from Woolly Mastodon. I don't want to, but backstory to this. Woolly Mastodon actually was created from a college graphic design class project where we had to create our own brand and create basically a branding system to go with it, create our company, and I created Woolly Mammoth. And at the time when I was designing this, there were no other companies that had that name that I could find online. And so I went with it because that was one of the parameters. We had to make sure that it wasn't being used, and it wasn't at the time. So I went through and I designed this whole system. Once I graduated college, I think that was a year or two later, because this was not the last year of college, I went to create a blog and I noticed Woolly Mammoth was starting to be used, so I changed it to Woolly Mastodon, figuring it's the same thing, who cares. But over the past, however many years it's been now, more and more people are using forms of that name. And because I didn't snag it, I didn't put it out there when I initially created it because it was just for a class. And I didn't actually start actively using it until after the class, after college, that people just started using the name. So it's kind of overused. If I want a unique name or some place for someone to find me, and I don't drink my water. If I want somebody to be able to find me, there's too many variations of this out there at this point. So the Woolly Mastodon logo is not going to go away. I still really, really like the logo that I created for it. Maybe not the name, but just the logo, Mammoth stamp. That's not going to fully go away. I think I'm going to try to incorporate that into stuff still. But we are rebranding just to my name, but a shortened version of my name, Tori Ann Schaffner. So we've got new branding for that. You'll notice if you click on the YouTube channel, we've got a new header. I've got new end screens, new beginning screens for the YouTube videos. And we're just going to go with it. I don't have an official name for the podcast yet. And just a caveat to that, within this transition, I'm still keeping woolymastodon.wordpress.com for all my show notes, simply because I haven't looked into moving over on WordPress and I don't know if it's worth it. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, I have rebranded. So we're just going to go with my name. So you should be able to find me under Tori Schaffner, that version, just about anywhere. Although Victoria Schaffner, I think, is still what the YouTube channel is technically called. So they won't let me change that. But yeah, so if you're curious what's going on, that's the backstory. That's a long backstory. Just that the name was starting to get overused. And, regardless, I know apparently there's an artist out there named Tori Schaffner, like a music artist, but I feel like this name will be less used than Woolly Mastodon. It's more unique to me. So that's what we did. It's a work in progress. I've been working on it for actually probably a month now, behind the scenes, and just haven't unveiled anything, although you might have noticed this last week that I did change the header already if you were on actual YouTube for any reason. But Anyway, I apologize also if the light is changing. It's like, it's really nice out. Hi, bye. But the sun is just going all over the place, so there is that. But anyway, let's just jump into the knitting, because that's probably what you're here for. You're not here for my long-winded explanation, but because things were going to look different, I had to say something. I have been doing a little knitting, because you might notice I am wearing, granted this is a short sleeve sweater, but I am wearing my Tigna by Caitlin Hunter. Caitlin Hunter? Yeah. It is actually cooler today. It finally was in the 40s last night. It has been hot up until the last couple days. So we are finally into sweater weather, and even though this is a short sleeve, like, layering piece, I don't care. It's sweaters, and I could actually, like, last night I was wearing a hoodie, so it's sweater season, which means that I can pick up wool and not die. So I put some work on my Weekender Light by Andrea Mowry. This is a bottom-up sweater. It's a fingering weight sweater, and it's supposed to be super oversized. I am not knitting it oversized. I'm pretty much knitting it to my size because I don't want it oversized. I just want it comfy. I don't like having all kinds of extra bulky fabric, and especially since this is a fingering weight yarn, I didn't want it to be super huge. But anyway, and also I'm not afraid to rip out and start again, case in point with this sweater. But I have gotten farther than you last saw it. One of the last times I showed this, I had two separate panel pieces. I had this one, and then I had started this one. Well, I finished the panels, and I have joined everything in the round. So there's yarn attached everywhere. So we'll just show you kind of what the yarn's doing right now. So basically it's got like the front and back hem, and then you knit and knit and knit and knit in the round. It's a paid for pattern, so that's all I'm going to say, because there are details in it that I'm obviously not going to tell you how to do. But it's a mess, because like I said, I've got multiple skeins of yarn attached, because this is a highly variegated yarn, so I kind of need to make sure that I'm alternating skeins so at least the variegation doesn't pool super crazy. But we're going to let it do what it does and see how it turns out. It is growing on me. I'm enjoying, it's going to be super busy, so it's going to be hard to see the details on the sweater, but there aren't many, so it's not a big deal. And I am enjoying the knit. It's really fun. We're to the mindless part. I really don't have to think about this now for a really long time, so that's great. And it's been fun to knit. I've actually knit probably 3 inches on this in total since I started, between finishing the second hem and knitting a couple inches on the body. So that's all been done in this last even week. That I hadn't touched that the week before. This last week I did this. This is knit on US 1s and US 3, so 1.25 millimeter needles and 3.25 millimeter needles. And this is knit out of Knit Pick Stroll. And is this what is this? Hand paint in the color Renaissance. So it's this really crazy, I fell in love with it. Are you going to focus? Hopefully it focused. I fell in love with it because when I bought my first skein, I was just getting out of art school. And I was like, this reminds me of all those paintings. This is so cool. And then I just, on a whim, they had it on sale a few years later on Knit Picks, so they're like yearly crazy like cyber sale around Thanksgiving, and I bought a sweater's worth. So I'm not super mad at it. It reminds me of that time, and it's going to be super nice to throw on. So I'm enjoying it. But yeah, it's a tangled mess of yarn. Hopefully I'll get more work on it in the next couple weeks before I podcast again, so you have more to see, because I really don't have to think about it. So this has been really fun to knit. I'm going to put this in the bag just in case Midnight decides to come back, so that she doesn't decide to eat the yarn. Because I wasn't knitting for a few weeks. She got super excited when I started again, because she's like, yarn! I love yarn! Like, I do too, but I don't need it. Other project I was working on. I put some stitches on my granny stripe blanket. Again, really nothing to show right now. I'm pretty close to finishing that one cake of yarn, magic cake of yarn, so this one is going to be probably appearing soon again, hopefully, if I work on it because once I finish that magic cake, I will share it with you. But that's actually my only two active work in progress. I have put a little knitting on my socks again, but again, really nothing to show, just a few stitches here and there at work. So with that, I don't have any stash enhancements. I do have one non-knit love, but it's knitting related, so I don't know what we want to call this. But I had placed an order on Amazon for a few things, and I finally caved and purchased the first Treasury of knitting patterns by Barbara G. Walker. That's embarrassing. I know her name by heart, and then when I'm trying to remember for the podcast, I don't. What is this? 500 different knitting stitch patterns. This is a stitch dictionary, and this is frankly a cult classic in the knitting world. This is, like, if you're a knitwear designer, you probably have this in your library, and there are 3 other volumes, which I hope to slowly acquire. These never go on sale. Knitpicks maybe occasionally puts them on sale, but these, like, never go on sale. So you basically have to just, you know, purchase it when you can. But it's basically just a book full of stitch patterns. Just pages and pages of stitch patterns and how to do them. And it is super cool. Now, this is an older book. Does it have the it should have the copyright date in it. Wow. This was originally 1968. This is the 12th printing from 2020. But I mean 1968. So like they've reprinted it, but like you have to realize that the stitch patterns are going to be in black and white. It's going to be a more simple book, but it is a mighty book. It has so many different stitch patterns in it. It's just going to be so much fun to work with. I know there's one that I think focuses more on open weave pattern or stitch patterns, so I really want to get that one. But I've wanted these for years, and I finally caved because these are $30 a pop. And I know for a book nowadays like this, that's not surprising, but for me, they're $30 a pop, and there's 4 of them. So I finally caved and got the first one, and hopefully over the years, I'll be able to get the rest of them. But I'm really excited to have this. I really need to design something, or just even knit a hat with one of these stitch patterns, but I'm really excited. So if you're into knitting and you like pattern or stitch pattern dictionaries, definitely look into these, but also just keep in mind it's like an older format, so it's not going to have color pictures. It's going to be a little more basic, but it's going to have a lot in it. So highly recommend. Super excited about that. But with that, let's move on to upcoming cast-ons. I still haven't figured out Christmas gifts, and we're just going to roll with it. It is almost the end of October. Yeah. I have no ideas. I don't know what I'm going to do because it needs to fit in a card, and now with USPS announcing that's probably going to, or it's going to be a lot slower. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll figure it out. I'm kind of leaning towards starting a smaller project again because most of the stuff I have going right now is really big, other than socks and that hat. I should just pick that hat up again. Do I have that hat right here to show? No, it's buried. But I had started in brioche hat, which I should either finish or rip out. Whatever. Either way, I want to start knitting something else, and we'll see. But with that, I have stitching. I have embroidery to show. So I have everything in this basket. I've been keeping this basket by the couch in our living room, and it's got all kinds of the embroidery stuff in it still. And I finished one project, and I just started another one. And I also got some tools to go with it, which I should have had a long time ago. So let's set this down. Oh, and there's something else in there I forgot about. But I finished one project. Now granted, this is finished stitching and I did iron it, but I haven't actually finished it in the hoop. And I'll show you why in a minute, but I finished my Hello cross stitch. It's not the best stitching, it's not the most even. I kind of regret doing the stitching around the word hello to crisp it up, because it doesn't fit the rest of the design. But I did that and I'm leaving it. I'm not going to rip it out. And this was just a test. It was a practice. It was a satin stitch practice. So you can see I'm not the neatest when it comes to satin stitch. I am most definitely not the neatest. But that is okay. I will finish this up. I haven't decided if this is going to stay in the hoop or be hung a different way. I don't know. It's just a little wide for the hoop, I think. I think it maybe needs to be in like a frame or something. It might make more sense because it's more rectangular. But we'll see. But I haven't officially finished it yet because I didn't own a pair of pinking shears. And I ordered some off Amazon. These things are hefty, but I finally got some pinking shears. And so then I can, there is fur and fiber and string everywhere. But then I can just like snip around the sides to keep it from fraying quite as much when I go to finish it. So that's kind of where this has been sitting. This is done. It's just not like presented nicely yet. So that's my first one. And then my second, I have only traced, but I will be doing this. It is another free pattern, Thanksgiving, Be Thankful. This is from DMC. This is what it should look like. My colors will be different, but this is what I'm working with. And I traced this pattern. Last time when I traced, I tried to make like a faux light box. This time, I literally taped the outline to our glass sliding door and taped the fabric on it when it was daylight, and it worked so much better. So I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I have drawn this onto my fabric. It's in a light blue color because I had gotten some pens for drawing on fabric. These are water erasable pens. They're Leonis. They had really good reviews on Amazon. It's a tiny little pen. It's literally this big. It's a little marker. It's on the floor now. It's a little marker, and it comes in a pack of 5, I think. So I have 5 of these. And it's if you soak the fabric in water, the pen will disappear. So I don't want to spill water on that while I'm working on it. But I got a pack of those, and it works like a charm. I feel a lot better about this because if I don't completely cover up my lines, I don't have to worry about it showing through because I can just wash it or like put it for a soak in the sink and the lines will disappear. So a really big fan of that. I had also snagged this pencil pouch, which is super handy. Aunt Ruth, you might recognize this little pouch. But I put all my embroidery floss in it for that I need for this pattern. So even if I like decide to travel and bring this with me, I pulled all the colors I need and put them in this little pouch in here. And it is the best little kit for bringing for my stitching. And then I've got pens and stuff in here, and I've got a few knitting notions too, but this is going to be super handy. And I have gotten this far in it. Like I said, I did kind of veer to knitting this week. I did more of my stitching last week, because I think it's only been 2 weeks since I last podcasted. I don't remember. But I got pretty far. I am super happy with that. I did debate, like, because the easiest way for me to trace patterns is during daylight and it's getting dark out at night, that I pretty much, once I get home from work, even though I'm done at 4 and I get home around 4:30, now that we're getting later into the season, it's probably going to be a little dark. I debated like batch tracing a few designs, and I decided not to because I don't want to have more than like too many projects going. I feel it'll be a little overwhelming. If I want to work on something else, I can pick up the pillowcases that I had started. I'm practicing a lot of satin stitch before I work on the ones Mom had started. But I can work on that stuff. So I didn't trace a second design. I was like, that's a bit much. This is going to take me long enough as it is, so we're just going to leave it. But yeah, that was my stitching content, and actually it'll probably be a shorter episode because I really don't have much else to show right now. Yeah, not that I can see. So we'll just move into life lately. Like I said, it's finally cooling down. We're finally getting that slight fall chill to the air. Most of the leaves are still mostly green here. It really hasn't started changing yet, but it's finally, I brought all my outdoor plants that need to come in last night because it was supposed to get down to 39 last night. I don't know if it actually did. When I was able to see it, it was in the 40s, but obviously I was sleeping for part of it. But yeah, plants are in that were on our little balcony. yeah, it was really chilly this morning. I opened the windows to let the cold air in because, of course. And I've just been really enjoying it. Today I was digging through my hand knits before this podcast just because I wanted to see what I had, and was just super excited because I wasn't melting when I was touching them. So that was great. So it's sweater weather here. Sweater weather. I can't even say it. It's sweater weather here. It's great. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It's finally here. Other than that, just the same old, working, knitting, stitching, spoiling Midnight, trying her new harness on her, which she was actually rubbing up against, so I'm really surprised. Obviously, this was a win. We have another harness for her, but it's too small for her now, so we went for the big guns. I got a bigger harness. Getting sucked into new Netflix series on TV. Other than that, yeah, it's been pretty chill. So hopefully it was a shorter episode. I was able to ramble on a lot. So we'll see when I edit this what it looks like. But anyway, it's been fun. I'm going to wrap up this episode so I can go knit and stitch and do all of the fun things and cook and make hummus because I did get a food processor. Thanks, Dad. But make hummus. And yeah, with that, I will see you later. Again, you can find me on Instagram as Tori Chapter. I'm on Ravelry as lilwestie. I'm on Facebook as Victoria Chapter, not as active there. You can find all the show notes. They will still be on woolymastodon.wordpress.com. If I am able to move it over to a different site name, I would let you know, but for now I'm not even going to worry about it. The show notes are just going to remain there. So if you're interested in any of the links, the link will be below for the link to the show notes, and you can take a look there. Again, hopefully you like the new design. Let me know your thoughts. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress, and I tried to mimic my handwriting online or on the computer, and it was a struggle, so we'll see how it goes. But with that, I hope you have a couple of weeks ahead. And actually, I'm scattered. I forgot to say, if you like this video, please like it, subscribe, share it with your friends, and join this little community on the interwebs. And now, I will say goodbye. I hope you have a great week. See you in the next one. Bye.